We got about seven. Got it. Okay. We've got 7 people here in Plant City kind of running the show behind the scenes, but I'm in front of the scenes. My name is Steve Branson. I work for the Florida DOT. I'm the D7 GIS coordinator there by day. And at lunchtime on Wednesday and breaks and then evening, I help plan GeoFlo 2021. So as everybody knows, 2021 has been kind of a crazy year following on the heels of another crazy year, 2020. So we thought we were making more progress. Variant came along. We kind of lost some progress. And in the midst of all this, we really wanted to go ahead and have a GeoFlo conference and kind of keep the momentum going from 2020. Was trying to hit a moving target. So amidst the pandemic surges, amidst the changing working conditions, do I work from home? Do I work from the office? Amidst the supply chain shortages, here's a little public service announcement. Don't put off your Thanksgiving shopping this year, because even in a normal year, it's hard to find cornbread close to Thanksgiving. This year, trust me, it's not going to be any better. So supply chain shortages, but it does seem like recently we're on the downhill side. I don't want to put the hex on it, but it does seem like we're on the downhill side. I would say GeoFlo, the planning of GeoFlo 21 has definitely had its challenges as well. We start planning this back in April. This takes literally months to plan for it to come off smoothly today on November 10th. So way back in April, we got the committee together. We had some seasoned committee members. We had some new committee members. The first thing we had to decide on, well, what are conditions going to be like in November? Because that's when we have the conference. So we looked into our crystal ball. We said, well, we don't know if it's going to be fully in person or fully virtual. So let's do the best of both worlds. Let's do a hybrid. So we started planning for a hybrid conference from the get-go. Okay. So as you know, things have changed between April and right now, but I'll cover that in just a minute. So we also had another challenge. We lost a critical member of our team. Actually, the founder went ahead and got another job up in Maryland. So I don't know if he's on the call right now or not, but so Matt went ahead and gave me a email. I believe it was on August 20th. And so we're really in heavy planning for GeoFlo. Matt and I were the co-chairman, whatever that means. And he said, Steve, I hate to tell you, but I got a new job up in Maryland. I'm going to be leaving on September 1st. This is on August 20th. And I said, Matt, I really hope you get me a better birthday present next year, because I didn't want to hear that on my birthday on August 20th. But you know what? It's like sports. Sports have a little moniker, the next man up. And we had a dedicated set of people that really wanted to go ahead and put on a conference. Okay. So we've been working hard. It's been a long and winding road to get to where we are on November 10th. I know a lot of people are breathing a big sigh of relief. I am finally glad to be here on November 10th, because we put a lot of effort into this. Like I said, it starts back on April 28th with the kickoff meeting. Okay, so back then, November seems a long ways off. You have monthly meetings, you have a little communication in between the monthly meetings, but then August gets here and you're like, wow, it's the end of summertime, and November seems a little bit closer now. So you get a little antsy and you start having bi-weekly meetings, and there's communication in between these meetings, and we're just hashing out all the details it takes to put on what we thought was going to be a hybrid conference like you're attending. Well, like we wanted you to attend at one time. Well, early October, literally a month ago, we're in full swing. We're still planning for a hybrid conference. We're having weekly meetings by this point. So we put out a registration. And so we allow people to register online. We allowed them to register in person using I want to say a survey 1, 2, 3. Good job, Kelsey, by the way. So we kind of monitored the results, and after a week or two, we're like, wow, this is really trending toward virtual. We literally probably had 80% virtual and 20% in person. Said, we can't really do an on-site event for the 20 to 25 people that might show up. So with literally the event less than a month away, we changed formats from a hybrid conference to all virtual. Now, that was easier because we already had a component of the virtual set up with the hybrid. Okay, so we weren't starting from scratch on the virtual, but all the planning we did for having a venue, having breakout rooms, providing lunch, having a mapathon, a map contest, even wanted to have a mappy hour somewhere afterward close to the venue. All that immediately went out the window. And so all these members of the committee who put in a lot of hard work to get to that point, kind of like, wow, okay. But luckily, they were very flexible and we kind of reset very quickly and we oriented toward, let's have a virtual conference because we want to have some kind of conference. You know, West Central Florida doesn't have the typical kind of bigger size GIS conference that the Panhandle has, that South Florida has, that they have over in East Central Florida. So we really are working toward that end. All right, not quite there yet, but we wanted to have a GIS event, even if it's only virtual, to bring people together to talk GIS. Because I don't know about you, but I think good things happen when GIS people come together. And a lot of times GIS is like a small pocket of a bigger organization. So it might be you, it might be a group of 5 people. You're supporting a much larger organization. In my case, where I'm GIS coordinator for the Florida DOT, it's 2 people, Kelly Nitzman and myself, supporting 5 counties, 700 to 800 people. So we are a very small pocket of GIS. And it's just good to get out there and talk to other GIS people because we don't have those conversations in our normal workday. Okay, so that's one reason we wanted to go ahead and have the event. It allows people to GIS people to share ideas. There is a component of networking and you know, developing working relationships. I know that's kind of not nearly as good as it would be in person, but I still think there's that small component even in a virtual conference like this. Okay, so I hope everybody is going to have a good experience attending this conference. I really think you are. I think you're going to walk away renewed, refreshed, and energized. And that's good for us all because that makes us more productive workers when we get back to our companies. Okay. So basically, you know, I have a real short intro. I want everybody to have fun. We have a good program set up for you. It's between 9 and 1. And one good part about doing a virtual conference is we can do polls, okay? And we can get immediate feedback. So at this time, I forget who's doing our polls, but let's go ahead and Shannon, if you would go ahead and throw up a poll, whether it's professional or fun, I'll let you decide that. And let's see what we have. And everybody will have an opportunity to go ahead and vote in the poll. And we'll get some real immediate results. All right. Let's see, I have always wanted to travel. Okay, I'm showing we have 57 people. So I don't know. I guess everybody's going to see the poll results at some point. She'll let the poll run its course, and we have the late returns coming in. And we'll see where people want to travel to, because hopefully travel is opening up as well as we open up all the businesses and travelways. All right, here we go. So nobody wants to go somewhere cold. I don't blame them. Okay. 1 out of 5 say, you know what? I just want to travel. Yes, it sounds good. But it looks like the winner is somewhere historic. You know, we have some of those places right around here. Let's see, somewhere tropical, remote. I actually said remote. I like going to national parks. And we have a couple thrill seekers out there that want to go somewhere dangerous. All right. That sounds great. We got some holidays coming up. So hopefully you'll get to do a little traveling. Everybody will be safe. So I'd say, we got a few minutes here. It's only 9:10. The first session doesn't start until 9:15. So Shannon, I mean, I'll throw up another poll. I'll let you decide whether it's fun or open or GIS. What do you think will have the greatest impact on our industry next year? Look into your crystal ball. So go ahead and cast your vote. We'll give it a few minutes. We're holding at 57 people. Hopefully the results will come up. And we'll look into our crystal ball and see what's going to have the most effect on the GIS industry in 2022. They're making me wait. Maybe we'll wait until we have 90% returns. Yeah. All righty, 45%. That's interesting. That's interesting. I honestly, I put greater adoption of GIS. By the way, I believe this is anonymous, but new work culture environment prompted by COVID. So hopefully that will be a positive impact. I know that obviously everybody's more comfortable with virtual tools. I mean, we're having this conference right now, so I know that's had a good effect on productivity. And like I said, I do think we're going in the right direction. So that's interesting. And we got 13% of our people are very humble and said people will finally recognize my genius and give me my just due, and hopefully a pay raise and more responsibility. So I'll go ahead and close that. Well, we got 9:12. I guess we got time for one. I'm not going to throw you for a loop. Okay. I do have a few administrative things to cover. If you would look, I guess you can go into your, if you click on participants, you'll see a list of participants on the right-hand side. One of those is going to be Tech Host. You might have to scroll down. It is in alphabetical order. So yeah, T for Tech Host is going to be, okay. Oh, it's at the very top. Okay. Okay. And you can message the tech host directly if you're having any kind of issues, and we'll get back to you. And also, let's see, do you want it? You said the email as well? Yes. If you end up getting kicked out of the meeting altogether, you can go ahead. If somebody from the committee would paste the GeoFlo email into the chat, you can always go ahead and email us. We'll be happy to get you the link and get your connection restored. Okay, if perchance you should exit the meeting. Okay. Is there anything else we want to go ahead and mention before we get started, guys? We're good. All righty. Well, I've got 9:13. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. That's always a good thing. So Kimberly, are you out there?
I am. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Kimberly. Thanks for joining us. Are you ready to go? I'm going to give you a nice, good intro. How about that?
While you're doing your intro, I'm going to start the share here. And I wanted to say good morning to everybody. I'm not going to run my video with the presentation because I don't want to tempt the bandwidth gods this morning. So I'm glad you can hear me, and we'll get going here in a moment.
Sounds great, Kimberly. We are very fortunate this morning. Our first speaker is from the State GIO office. After a year of mapping fieldwork in Australia's national park, that sounds interesting, Kim started her career in GIS at the St. John's River Water Management District in 1990. She is a certified GISP and recently completed the Natural Resource Leadership Institute, NRLI, and LEAPS leadership programs through the University of Florida. After 25 years with DEP in 2019, she became Florida's GIO officer and is supported by a team of knowledgeable subject experts at agencies across the state. Kim is proud to represent Florida on the National States Geographic Information Council and is especially excited to see the future application of aquatic drones, for coastal mapping. Would you please help me give a warm welcome to our first speaker, Kimberly Jackson.
Good morning, Kimberly. Thank you. Steve, can you verify that you can see my screen that starts with the 2022 preview?
I can.
All right, terrific. Florida is home to 10 regional GIS user groups, 29 colleges with GIS-specific graduate and undergraduate degree offerings, 460 active GISPs, over $115 million in current LiDAR acquisition funding, and 30 years worth of land use data. Florida's GIS community certainly has a strong base to build from going to 2022. So good morning and thank you for the opportunity to join the 2021 GeoFlo Summit. My name is Kim Jackson and I'm Florida's State Geographic Information Officer. All but 2 states have GIOs, and many federal agencies have recently established GIO positions. Our main directive is coordination for improved geospatial data decision-making. But before we talk about what we have in store for 2022, I want to take a moment and provide a short overview on Florida's Geographic Information Office. Prior to the establishment of the State Geographic Information Office, staff from water management districts, counties, state agencies, and universities organized a GIS work group beginning in the 1990s. This GIS work group met quarterly to share technical resources, host educational opportunities, and help plan for aerial and geospatial data acquisition projects across the state. Although this group was effective, they weren't recognized by state and federal partners for contracting, grant management, or funding opportunities. Cost share opportunities rely on point systems that reward coordination of many entities through a single point of contact. So this was one place where Florida was missing out on some good opportunities. Fast forward to 2015. The Agency for State Technology reached out to the Florida GIS Work Group and offered to support the work group's official strategic plan. The strategic plan's #1 goal was to have the legislature create a statewide geographic information office for Florida. So during the 2016 legislative session, that strategic plan and goal was introduced, but at the time, the legislature did not move forward. The GIS work group and AST staff held meetings and educational briefings and outreach for many legislators. And then during the 2017 session, the GIO office was established. It was organized with the Department of Management Services, where the then Agency for State Technology was located. During the 2018 session, the DMS information services were reorganized, and the Florida Geographic Information Office moved to the Department of Environmental Protection. I became GIO in the summer of 2019. I wanted to include a reference to the state statutes and sections that authorize the GIO office. None of us have had enough coffee yet this morning to want to read through all this, but it will be a reference in the presentation if you'd like to learn more about the legislative history of Florida's office. It's worth noting that the GIO has been granted rulemaking ability should there be a future need for statewide standards. Currently, we haven't been approached to discuss any need for these standards beyond those that are already in place. Following Florida statute, the State Geographic Information Office has a discrete group of stakeholders. Our current focus is water management districts, commissions, executive office divisions, and state agencies. There's some examples of those here. I'm often asked if we can coordinate with counties and local governments. Our current directive is to work exclusively with our designated stakeholders since we're a new office, but I firmly believe that the work we do with these stakeholders will benefit all of Florida's GIS users at every level. I like to think this mission statement is more of an action statement. And so for me, the most important parts are a focus on being innovative, striving to elevate the quality and use of geospatial data science, and making sure we remember that Florida's citizens are our ultimate clients. So let's talk a little bit about resources. Our #1 public-facing resource is the Geographic Information Office hub site. It features a GIS community calendar, a place to sign up for our email distribution list, and most importantly, the statewide geospatial open data portal. For our first 2022 sneak peek, we want to let you know to visit the hub on January 1st to see our new site using Esri's Hub Premium infrastructure. Later in this talk, I'll talk about some of the new content that we hope to share on the hub in January. The portal can be reached via the hub navigation bar. The Open Data Portal is organized, like many others, by ISO category and has a text search tool to locate authoritative geospatial data. Many of you host your own organization's open data portals, and we're always mindful of not being redundant. The statewide portal is intended for public users that may not know how agency data is organized. Imagine you've just moved to Florida and you're interested in manatees. You may not know about water management districts or which ones you're in. You may not know if you should contact DEP or FWCC for manatee data. Searching on the statewide open data portal will return data from multiple agencies that have tagged any layers with the search term manatee, and users can proceed from there. We've identified a top 20 foundational data set list, like many other states, and are working with the source data providers to make those top 20 available. Often data providers share additional data from their organizations. For each of our data providers, we have referenced their logos as web links to redirect to their home open data portal. So in example, this would be if you're not sure where to find interstate data or where DOT's portal is, you can search in the open data portal here and be returned any links that have to do with interstate data. Additionally, you could go to this part of the portal, click on the DOT link, and you'll be redirected to DOT's open geospatial open data portal, and then have access to all their individual data sets and all the information that they provide, including metadata and web services. While developing the portal, we're simultaneously making connections to state agencies, which have less mature GIS programs, to see where the state office could provide support. So if you're wondering what the unknown block is, sometimes it's difficult to identify a GIS contact at smaller state agencies or commissions, and there may be multiple people in multiple program areas that do GIS, but unless they have a specific manager, admin, or coordinator, it takes a little time to work through those agencies and make those contacts. So that's the unknown block. We know a little bit more about these agencies than we did a year ago, but we still have a little ways to go. Starting in January, we're going to be working with stakeholders to create a list of the next 20 most important data for sharing via the portal. During the July 2022 strategic planning session, we're going to publish that plan outlining our progress and goals. Look for that report on the new hub site next summer. Beside the geospatial open data portal, by January, we will have added resource pages for users to learn more about topics such as the Florida Next Gen 911 project, the National Geospatial Data Act, and the Florida Legislature's redistricting program. Here's a list of additional resources we will be sharing. If you have a topic of interest that you'd like us to highlight, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us an email. One of our current initiatives I'm most proud of is the Florida LiDAR dashboard, featuring the Peninsular and Michael Supplemental terrestrial LiDAR contracts administered by the Florida Division of Emergency Management. This joint FDEM-GIO project allows users a quick visual check on the status of county deliverables and also provides download and educational resources. On the dashboard's download tab, a user can investigate a small extent and follow the directions for downloads of source data, derived products, and more. You'll notice the tab at the bottom of the window now highlights View as Set, which allows users to download a county's worth of data at one time. Clear instructions with live links facilitate data search and access for the public. We recognize that our federal partners have data storage and download tools, but this project aims to streamline and simplify a Florida-centric data access workflow. The additional dashboard tabs provide access to specific documentation, story maps, and other resources and references related to the current terrestrial LiDAR contracts. Farther down the LiDAR resource page, we've included 3 high-quality, free public training resources for those interested in leveraging LiDAR as an input for their modeling and analysis. We want to do more than provide quality data. We hope to support staff in their use of these data and help them publicize their geospatial success stories to inspire the continued adoption of GIS and build momentum for future projects. On to the initiatives. Without a doubt, the biggest project we'll be starting in 2022 is the Florida Coastal Mapping Initiative. The legislature and governor approved $100 million of CARES Act funding for this project as of July 1st. The Department of Environmental Protection and the GIO office have begun coordination, and you can learn all about the status of this project on our CMI page with the January 1st Hub update. Let's take a peek at the planning. This is a web map that will be used as a planning reference for our federal partners, scientific contributors, and eventually the topobathy LiDAR sonar vendors. We are cataloging recent, high-quality coastal mapping projects, delineating the 0 to 20 meter coastal zone, and studying tide stations to inform our specifications and timelines. When the deliverables are complete, the GIO is especially concerned that the data is searchable and accessible for our user community. Our USGS liaison, Zan Fredericks, provided this image. I love her example of being a dive shop operator tasked with planning dive trips to not overexpose a reef area. Imagine how much more effective all our decision-making will be with these new coastal mapping resources when they're complete. I'm excited to share that the LiDAR dashboard will have a twin when we create and host a CMI dashboard on the GIO Hub. In addition to these other initiatives for 2022, again, I'd like to ask for input on any Florida initiatives that you would like to see and have prioritized. Because the #1 job of the GIO is coordination, I want to finish this morning with an update on our GIS community's contributions at local, state, and the national level. I thought it was interesting. I need to add that Steve did the poll, and then the group here mentioned that they feel that the work from home paradigm is really going to impact us in 2022. I couldn't agree more. I picked this graphic because, especially during 2020 and before we got back to the office, I spent an awful lot of time in virtual meetings and presentations and panels. And at first, you know, for all of us, it was a bit clunky and I wasn't quite sure how much value was there. But when you get sent into these little breakout rooms and sent into these different groups, you do meet people that maybe you wouldn't meet at an in-person meeting, because, you know, we all have a habit of sitting with the same people in person and talking to the people that we know in person. And during this virtual period, I made a lot of contacts and met a lot of people I don't think I would have met had it not been for that format. So there's been some really important things that are already paying off for us here in the Florida office that have come out of that virtual meeting environment over the past year. So our office is currently engaged as an invited member of the NOAA Data Discovery Workshop Series. NOAA is in the process of recreating their geospatial tools, dashboards, websites, and resources, and they've asked for input in a series of targeted workshops with state GIOs, non-governmental organization leaders, municipalities, and other stakeholders. The Army Corps is coordinating with us to provide up-to-date benchmark references in navigable channels to be used as QA stations for the Coastal Mapping Initiative. The USGS's 3DEP program, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, continues to partner with Florida, and we hope to finalize an agreement later this month to participate as a pilot study state for the new LiDAR elevation-based 3D hydrography program that will inform our new national hydrography data set. The GIO office participates in the daily geospatial briefings held by FEMA during hurricane or disaster activations. And we're working with the FDOT, the Florida 911 team, and the US DOT to provide Florida information to the National Address Database. Regionally, we've worked with our plans to highlight every state, worked with plans in every highlighted state here on initiatives impacting Florida. I'll be addressing the Alabama GIS Executive Council next week at their annual meeting. And we have a meeting earlier this week to discuss with New Jersey lessons learned on coastal mapping projects. So Angela Witcher at the Department of Environmental Protection in New Jersey was in charge of their coastal mapping efforts. And we ended up in a breakout room, and she heard me talking about Florida's upcoming coastal mapping project. And she's like, oh, you need to talk to me later about tides. Tide stages with the vendors is really important. It's definitely a gotcha. Talk to me about tides. So we got our staffs together earlier this week, and we had a really great hour-long chat with some demonstrations, and they shared some information that really has added some value to the way we were going to draft our specifications. And I think we're going to have a much stronger project because of it. So we're really thankful to our state partners that have a lot of things in common with Florida projects and the way that we can coordinate those. Closer to home, the best part of my job is sharing the successes of our Florida GIS community. To spread the word, we created the 2021 Story Map of the Month gallery on our GIO hub site. Each month, we feature a different story map from a stakeholder as an example of how staff are using GIS to meet their missions. I send out an email once a month announcing the new story map provider, and we try to pick some that use different story map templates or that feature different ways to use story maps or different story map functionality, just to give people an idea of what other people are doing out there and how they could leverage this tool, as I said, to meet their mission. I'll end with a final preview of 3 GIO initiatives that we have planned for 2022. We're going to be using the GIO email distribution list to announce 2 GIS internships next summer and posting resources for any agencies that would like to host their own internship program. I have to tip my hat to the South Florida Water Management District. They've done a tremendous job in creating resources for geospatial interns at their water management district. And they've been very kind to share that information with us. And we've repackaged it to sort of be agency agnostic so that any agency could take these resources and in a short time customize them for their own mission and their own needs, and perhaps start an internship program. We're also investigating more ways to support the University of Central Florida GeoBus program to promote geospatial education in Florida's K-12 world. If you're not familiar with Tim Hawthorne and the GeoBus program, please look him up. And stay tuned for more information on our hub site and an in-person November 2022 celebration for GIS Day outside at the Florida Capitol Hill Green. We'll definitely need your support to pull that off. I really appreciate your time this morning, and I'll be glad to take any questions or feel free to follow up via email. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. That was very, very informative. And as Kimberly said, we've got a few minutes left in her session. So if anybody wants to go ahead and ask her a question, now is the time. You can either put it in the chat window or you can unmute yourself. So any questions for Kimberly? I'm going to let her off that easy.
Well, I know the rest of your content is really technical, and I'm really excited to hear these other presentations. So thanks again for the opportunity. And as I say, we'll be glad to stay in touch via email later on.
Sounds great, Kimberly. Tell you what, we need to make sure that we get your mailing address at some point. We got a little something for you, show our appreciation. So, all righty. Well, you know what? That leaves us at 9:34. Oh, okay. We do have a question. All right. I knew it wasn't going to be that. Okay, Melissa. Okay. So Melissa asked, Kimberly, are you still there?
I am.
Okay. We have a question from the audience. How do we access the site? I guess the general Florida GIO site.
I'm going to put it here in the chat to everyone in just a moment, but it is Florida GIO, one word, at Oh, sorry, that's the email. Okay. The website is
Very good.
floridagio.gov. So if you just type Florida, FLORIDAGIO.gov in your URL, you'll come to us.
Awesome.
And someone asked, is the current GIO strategic plan available online? It is not. So we're going to have that available certainly before the next July 1st deadline, but there's not currently one posted.
Thank you, Kimberly. Any more questions? We have a few more minutes. So if you come up with something, feel free to go ahead and put it in the chat box. Or like I said, go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask the whole audience. We'd love to hear from you. I get tired of listening to myself. Okay. Okay, how do we find volunteer? Do you handle volunteer opportunities, Kimberly, or?
No, I'm sorry, we don't at this time.
Okay.
We work with the GIO Corps, the GIS Corps when there's emergencies, and I help coordinate GIS staffing at the EOC here in Tallahassee when they're on 24/7 activation. So if you could be available during an event and you're in the Tallahassee area, please drop me an email, because I work with Jason Ray and Daniel Rydell in staffing for the GIS lab during emergency activations. But that's the extent of our volunteer coordination at this time.
Got you. Got you. So I think you answered everything to include the GIS strategic plan. Hopefully that'll be available at some point. We seem to have questions kind of going around on people's mind, and we'll see if another one pops up. We'll keep an eye on the chat box. So there we go. And then it is the link to the website to get you started. Go ahead and bookmark that. Sounds like a lot of great resources on there. Very, very informative. As you know, as GIS people, we can't have access to enough data because we're nothing without data. So, all righty. Okay, well, we have a few more minutes. Do we have time for a poll, Shannon, or you want to go ahead and pop another? Those are kind of fun. So what do we have lined up? Little fill of material here. I don't think you want to hear my corny dad joke.